Now we will try to understand what are database languages. Database is basically a set of interrelated data and the set of programs to operate on that data. Whenever we are interacting with the database, we need to make the use of structured query language. And while we are writing different queries inside the structured query language, those queries are categorized depends on their functionalities into different languages. These languages are data definition language, data control language, data manipulation language, and transaction control language. So, a DBMS has an appropriate language and interfaces to express database queries and updates. These database languages can be used to read, store, and update the data in the database. Now we will understand one by them. Data definition language. Now the data definition language, it is used to define database structure or a pattern. Now there are different queries which we can write using commands, and those all commands will be written for a single purpose, that we will going to define the database structure or a pattern. It is used to create schemas, tables, indexes, constraints in the database. So using DDL statements, we can create the basic skeleton of the database. For example, inside the database, it is a large collection of data, and the unit in which the data is stored in the database is a table. Let's consider, for example, this project table. Now we will going to create the basic skeleton of the database inside the data definition language, because the name itself suggests that it is about defining the data. So here some tasks that will come under the data definition language are create. So it is used to create the object in the database, means we can create the table using create table command inside this particular data definition language. So this is a table which we have taken for example. So it has two columns, project ID and project name. So inside creation, we will write the query for creating this particular table, but at the same time, we have not inserted the data into this particular table. We have just created the structure of the table, that it has two columns, project ID, project name, and the name of the table is project. Alter. It is used to alter the structure of the database. For example, let's say here we want to add a column, a new column inside this particular table. So we will write the query using the alter table command, and it will going to alter the structure of the table, so that there will be a new column where we can insert our data. Drop. It is used to delete the object from the database. So entire table can be deleted, in which all the records and the structure of that particular table will be deleted. And on the other hand, if you want to delete the records from the table, you can write the truncate command. It is used to remove all the records from the table. So in creation, alteration, dropping the table or truncating the table, we are basically working on the structure or the pattern of the table. So it is called as data definition language. So this is the first language that comes under database languages. Data manipulation language. So as the name suggests, this particular language will going to work on the data, it will going to manipulate the data that is available inside the table. So it is used for accessing and manipulating the data in the database. And so it handles the user request. So here are some tasks. Select. It is used to retrieve the data from the database. So here we write the query select star from project. So what happens? All the records that are there inside that particular table are displayed. Insert. It is used to insert the new data into the table. So let's say insert infi 101 inside this particular project table, right? Infi 101 along with the project name NAB, or infi 102 the project name All State Bank along with its data types can be inserted. Update. So as like insertion, updation also plays an important role. In updation, we can update the existing data that is present into the table, and we can delete some specific records from the table also. So here we can see that we are not working on the structure of the table, but we are actually manipulating the data using select, insert, update and delete. So for example, I want to delete the project Swiss Insure. So I will delete from the project where ID is equals to infi 104. So what will happen? This particular record will be deleted. Now, data control language. Now, this language is basically used to control the authorities to access the data. So, it is used to give the authority to work on the stored or a saved data. So, the data control execution is a transactional, and it also has the rollback parameters. So, the task which can be performed using specific commands under these languages are grant. So it is used to give user the access privileges to the database. For example, I am the admin user. So in the grant command, let's say there is a user Smith. So I will grant the permission to the Smith that it can connect to the database as admin. As an administrator, I can grant the permission to the Smith that it can insert the data into the existing table. So it is used to give user access privileges to the database, and at the same time it is used to take back the permissions from the user using the revoke command. As we can grant the authorities to the user, in the similar fashion we can also remove those authorities from the user using the revoke command. And there are following operations which can have authorization of granting as well as revoking. So like connect is the command used for connection, insertion, deletion, updation and selection. These are some examples which can be used under data control language. And the fourth type of database language is transaction control language, wherein here we are trying to work on the transactions. It is used to run the changes made by the DML statements. So the transaction control language can be grouped into the logical transaction. Here are some tasks that can come under the transaction control language, like commit. It is used to save the transactions on the database. Let's say I have inserted 4 different records into the project table. Now, after this insertion of 4 different records inside the project table, I can use the command commit, so that it will going to save these 4 records using some save point. Then I can add 2 more records into that, and then also I can create a save point. And then if I want to roll back, means I want to go back. So rollback is basically used to restore the database to the original since the last commit. Like let's say I want to roll back to save point B, then save point A, then respectively the 6 records and the 4 records will be saved into that particular uh, uh, table. So in this particular fashion, the transaction control language works. So these are the different languages that we can see as an example for database languages.